I'm going to go through a step-by-step process of setting up Performance Max campaigns in 2025. I'll not only go through the walkthrough, but then I'll take you through a live account where you can see a Performance Max campaign in action. I also want to go through an optimization you can make right from the start with your campaigns. Essentially, a way for you to exclude irrelevant placements right from the start, things like apps and irrelevant websites that could potentially just be wasting your spend. I'll then take you through a live account where you can see for yourself all the placements that show up with your Performance Max campaigns, and I'll walk you through how to exclude these placements. So I'm going to jump into this example account right here. This is just my sort of paid media Australia business. This isn't an e-commerce client. This isn't an e-commerce account, but we'll sort of treat it that way. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on the blue plus button. You're going to go new campaign. Then depending on sort of what industry you're in, if you're in a lead gen business, you're going to pick leads. If you're in an e-com business, you're going to pick sales. Just for this example, we'll go with sales. And since we're going with sales, we want to make sure that we're adding the correct goal. So sales would obviously be purchase. And then you just want to remove any irrelevant goals. So with your Performance Max campaigns, you typically wanted to optimize towards one main conversion, which you did there. I excluded that other placement. That's not deleting it from the account. That's just deleting it from this particular campaign. Cool. Then you're just going to go continue, Performance Max. And then if you're an e-com client, you want to connect your merchant center. Assuming your merchant center is already connected. Again, this is just a test sort of merchant center I've connected. That's why these errors are showing up. And then you just want to name it appropriately, depending what it is. In this case, let's just say that this is an apparel store. So we can say this is an apparel, and I typically keep my campaigns based on country, right? Depending where you're shipping if you are an e-commerce store. Cool, so we just go Australia and continue. Start new. All right, so PMax is heavily sort of reliant on smart bidding strategies. Essentially, smart bidding strategies is all you can use with PMax campaigns. So typically, it's not recommended to start straight out of the gate on a brand new account with the PMax campaign, just because it relies heavily on smart bidding strategies, which sort of require at least 30 conversions in your account and previous account data before running. Also, given that PMax sort of tests your ads on multiple placements, tests multiple headlines, multiple landing pages in some instances, it is recommended that you sort of have some sort of account data to sort of go on, right? So you sort of want to be running either a shopping campaign if you're in e-commerce or search campaign if you're in lead gen. So just so you personally have a good idea of what headlines work well, what headlines don't work well, what keyword, what targeting works well, just so you sort of know when starting this PMax campaign that you have your headlines, descriptions, that everything's sort of covered. You just want to sort of speed up that learning process as much as you can. Cool. So if you are a e-commerce client or e-commerce industry, you're going to go conversion value. If you are a just lead gen, you're just going to go maximize conversions. Definitely don't set a target return on ad spend. Even given that if you were already had sort of campaigns running, I would still stick to just conversion value. Let your campaign build up, your PMax campaign run for a while, build up conversions, and then based off your conversion data, then you want to set a return on ad spend. Cool. So that's bidding done. So this section is just to, if you wanted to focus your campaigns on new customers or let it run. So PMax does have a built-in sort of remarketing function. So someone's searching for, in this scenario, t-shirts. Maybe someone's looking for a white t-shirt. They don't really know your brand. They search white t-shirt. Your shopping campaign comes up. Shopping is included in PMax. So let's say someone clicks on that shopping campaign. They don't convert. They're scrolling around the internet. They're on YouTube. PMax will then retarget that person on YouTube with that same product feed and potentially try and get them to convert. So if you just wanted to focus the campaign on cold traffic, you would tick that box and you would focus more on just new customers essentially. So we go next, select the country you focus on or the area you focus on. In this example, let's just say this particular company ships to Australia only. So we'll pick Australia. If your business does ship to multiple countries, I do recommend having multiple campaigns set up for each country, just because each sort of country's market performs a bit differently than the other. Next section, just your language. And then automated assets. Okay, so I do recommend turning your automated assets off. Again, given that Performance Max heavily tests sort of new things, your aim here is to try and you want to come into your campaign knowing what headlines, what pages basically work before running your PMax campaign. You can sort of choose to test this out. Maybe you want to split test a campaign with these off. Maybe you want to run an experiment and you can sort of test whether having these on it performs better. In my experience, usually it does a good job at getting people to your site. Like, it does a good job at doing what it's meant to do, essentially. But you just want to have as much control as you want. You don't want to be sending people to random pages on your site. You don't want it to be showing up for random headlines and random text, especially if your industry is a bit more private. In a private industry, you want to be careful what you say. If you're a big company, you don't want your campaigns just to be saying random things. I definitely do recommend turning these off to start off with. If you want to run an experiment once your campaign's up and running, you can run an experiment and split your budget and see how it performs, and also just see what shows up. In my experience, this hasn't performed the best, but again, depending on your business, depending on your industry, it's always worth testing. In this example, I'm just going to turn these off. Video enhancements, these aren't a major. This is just sort of enhancing your videos that you've added. You can leave that on. You want to go more settings. Your ad schedule, you can leave it to run all day. Start and end dates. If you're running a campaign for a sort of particular, I guess, sales period, you just want to make sure you have your end date set. For example, if it's Black Friday, you want to have your end date set to Black Friday so you're not overspending and your messaging sort of doesn't show on days after Black Friday. This is all good. Campaign URL, don't have to worry about that. That's just your tracking and your brand exclusion. So if you are already running campaigns prior to your Performance Max campaign, typically you would be running a branded search campaign. You can add your brand name here in this section just to sort of make sure your PMax campaign doesn't heavily bid on your branded terms, and essentially it would just steal traffic away from that branded search campaign. And it would focus on showing your ads for your brand, just because your brand is typically what's going to convert the best. And given that this is sort of Google's AI smart bidding strategy, its focus is to get you the most conversions. I do recommend adding a brand list into this if you are running your branded search campaign. So you're gonna go next. The asset generation, I would skip this section. You sort of want to have all your assets ready to go. Like I said, so if you have run a shopping campaign before, if you have run a search campaign, you should have your headlines, your descriptions from those campaigns, the headlines and description that you know works, as well as your products, as well as your sort of search themes in this scenario. So given that we're running a sort of fake apparel campaign, let's say this ad group is going to be for hats, just as an example. And then we would have multiple ad groups for different product categories, for example, right? The reason being is you want to have your headlines, your copy, your landing pages, all relevant to the search themes within this ad group. So hats, your headlines will be focused around hats. That way it just sort of assures that your targeting sort of matches what people are searching. If it matches what people are searching, there's a stronger likelihood, obviously, that they're going to find your ad relevant. They can click on your ad and go to your page, potentially purchase as well. Also, for your products, different products have different price points, different margins. The reason we want to separate this is because those different products would often perform differently than, let's say, a jeans, right? A $20 hat is going to obviously have different click metrics, different cost metrics than a $200 pair of jeans, just as an example. So this would be your listing group here. You would come in, you would select your products. So if you had hats, if you had your category set up, you could just pick the hats category. Again, this is just an example account. So I don't think I have much. I think I added a couple fake products. As an example, let's just make this a hoodie category. You select your hoodies. I'll change this to hoodies just so it makes sense. Cool. Then your final URL, you can give it your final URL. Again, this is also going to show in your shopping feed. The way the shopping feed shows up is it's going to be in the top. It's going to direct people directly to product pages. This, you can add your collection page, maybe if you had a hoodies collection page. Yeah, you could also just add your home page if you don't have a collection page, and then your headlines and description. So you should have this all ready to go from your previously running campaigns. I will just quickly add this in. So I've just added a couple example headlines in. This is literally just stuff I got off ChatGPT. But essentially, you want your hoodies ad group to be focused around your hoodies. So if your headlines and descriptions could primarily focus around hoodies, that would be great. And then you want to fill that in for your long headlines, fill that in for your descriptions as well. Also, you can have your brand name in your headlines, which isn't an issue. In this case, obviously, this is an example store. I'll add in a couple long headlines and a couple descriptions. Okay, cool. So I just quickly added in some sort of headlines, descriptions I got off ChatGPT. I will also just add in a example URL. So again, this is just an example URL, just assuming that this is a e-commerce store. So this is our hoodies focused ad group with our hoodies products in it, which means that these are the products that are going to show in the shopping feed. Also, it's going to show in the feed across your remarketing campaigns. So again, so PMax does show in all the placements. So you're going to see your PMax campaigns on search, YouTube, discovery, Gmail, maps, as well as your displays. So your display channel is going to be partner websites, apps, YouTube videos as well, right there. Cool. I'm also going to show you, once we submit this, how to stop it sort of from showing up in some channels that are going to be irrelevant pretty much from the start, which in this case would probably be things like apps. Cool. Then you want to add your images. If you have any relevant images, let's say you are selling hats, hoodies, you could just add that in. Okay, cool. So assuming your images are better than this is again just the example. Just pick your images. Ideally, if you can, have your 20 images picked. And then you want to head down to the next section. You want to add your logo in. Cool. Then just add your business name, paid media. If you do have a video, you will need to have your video uploaded to your YouTube channel, and then all you want to do is just essentially assign that link to this section. So your video doesn't have to be public, it can be unlisted, which means it won't be sort of public on your channel. You just sort of put that video URL here. If you don't add a video URL, typically what would happen is the PMax campaign will sort of generate a video based off your images and your products. Well, I do recommend adding a video if you do have a video. Cool. Then you just want to add your site links. If you have been running your search campaigns before, you should have your site links already set up. This is just going to be primarily for search. So having your site links just sort of increases your real estate on the search channel. Having a bigger real estate just means you take up more space. Taking up more space just increases the likelihood of your ad getting clicked, which is a good thing, right? Because it pushes your competitors further down the page. Essentially, you're going to be half the phone screen, as you can see there. A couple site links added as well. Cool. Anyway, assets. You can add your structured snippets as well. If you were running your search campaign, you should have structured snippets and callouts already set up. If you are a lead gen business, you can add your phone number. Cool. So now I'm in the signals. So your signals are sort of, it's where you put your targeting essentially for this particular ad group. So given that this is a hoodies campaign, you could try and focus it around hoodies, people looking for hoodies. Again, so your signals it's not gonna target people directly. It's just gonna act as a signal for this campaign. So adding as many signals as you can into this sort of just helps PMax learn that much quicker and speeds up the process, makes it a bit more efficient. Again, it's not gonna stick to the targeting directly. So as you can see, this next section is your data, where you would add people that have interacted with your business. Let's say you added everybody that's sort of landed on a web page on your site. It's not just going to target those people that land on your web page. It's just going to use those people as reference, and it's sort of going to build your audience based off what you give it. So adding as many as you can here, adding as many signals as you can, helps speed up that process. So assuming you ran your shopping and your search campaigns before, you should have a sort of good idea of what keywords people are searching, what sort of search terms people are actually searching for your products. In this example, I'll just add a list of 20. If you have 20, you should have 20, add 20 in. Try and keep it relevant to the products in the ad group. This scenario obviously is just an example, so I'm just adding any 20. Cool. So that's all added. That's 20. You want to come down to the next section. If you probably won't have any saved audiences because I'm assuming you haven't ran a PMax campaign before, but just ignore that. Essentially, you could save this audience once you're done, and then you could reuse this audience for multiple campaigns in the future. Let's say you were going to build this exact same campaign out for a different country. You could sort of start a new campaign and just sort of reuse this audience for that country. Okay, cool. So your data. So essentially you would have, if you haven't been running for a while, you would have a sort of big list of data. So people that have purchased from your site previously, people that have engaged, visitors, all users of paid media. Basically you want to add as many as you can here, essentially everything you have, and just sort of add to the signals to help speed up the learning. And then you want to come to your interest section. I'll do the same here. Hoodies, sweatshirts, pullovers. You could add North Face as a competitor, I guess. Apparel, urban clothing, organic clothing, basically anything that you find is relevant, you want to add in. What you can also do, this is probably, I guess, a bit more advanced, but you could create sort of a new segment, new audience in your account. You could create an audience based on competitors' sites that you know, sort of build out a list, and then you can come into this and you can sort of add that into this campaign as well. Just sort of helps Google learn that much quicker. Cool. You want to go additional signals. Pretty much leave this, I guess, broad. You don't really need it to change this unless you really know your demographic. For example, if you were a women's only wellness place, there's no reason targeting males. You could exclude males. Yeah, cool. And then you want to go next. Set your budget. So it is going to recommend a budget, and it's going to give you these metrics below, but I would basically take all of this just with a grain of salt, right? This is not how it's going to perform. Set the budget that you're sort of comfortable spending. Keep in mind the products that you have inside this ad group. If you have hundreds of products, obviously if you could spend a bit more, that would be good, because it's it's going to show each product gets sufficient spend. But given that you've, in this scenario, if you have run your shopping campaign before, you should have an idea of what products are going to sell and the volume of those products, and you should have an idea of what you're going to spend as well. So let's just say for this scenario, you're going to spend $20. Cool, $20, and you'll go next. I'll take you to this review section. If you have any issues, it will say. So let's see what the issue is. This website does not match. Okay, cool. Let's just use this then. Again, this is just an example site. So that is pretty much how you do this. Once you publish, it will go through. I'll show you what to do once you do publish. Just a quick optimization you can make that's sort of going to help you exclude irrelevant placements right from the start. So let's say your campaign is up and running. What you want to do is you want to come into your tools section. You want to head over to content suitability. Once you're in this section, you just want to add some exclusions, excluded placements for your account. I would definitely exclude all apps. You want to click app category, exclude all apps, especially if you're running an apparel business or an e-com business. There's no sort of need for your apparel to be showing up on apps. What I've seen is apps only work if you're advertising an app. Once you've turned off all of these and make sure you're opening these drop-down menus as well, then you want to come to Google Play, exclude all of those. You want to go save. It'll save all of them. You can also add in some stuff like sensitive content, tragedy, political issues, sexual suggested, sensational and shocking. Cool. And then I would also exclude some of these themes. It's just going to sort of make sure you're not showing on random websites as well. Just because the Google Partner Network is so huge, you're always going to be showing up for these relevant sites, these relevant apps. But this is just sort of a way to minimize that from the start. Once that's done, your campaign is good to run. You sort of have a good base. You've excluded all your irrelevant apps, your placements, keeping in mind that your PMax campaign is our example one that we set up is set up just for hoodies. If you had multiple products, you would then go into that PMax campaign, create another ad group, and repeat the process for your new product, just as an example. Now, I just want to quickly go through a live sort of PMax campaign that we're running for a client of ours. Cool. So this is for this month in February, as you can see. This is a PMax campaign that we're running for the swimwear brand. I just want to quickly show you what sort of irrelevant placements your PMax campaigns really sort of do show up for, even in an established sort of account just like this. First, I'll show you that same content suitability section, just so you can get an idea of how many exclusions that I've personally added into this account. So you can see we've added over 3,000 exclusions for this account already, right? And even with those 3,000 exclusions, you will still see a large number of irrelevant placements showing up. So I'll go back into the campaigns. You can see the campaigns are running. What you want to do is you want to run a report. So go into the drop down, insights and reports, go report editor, and then there will just be a default report that is PMax placements. And just keep in mind that this is the time frame. This is just this month. If I sort of expand this, you'll be a much bigger list. So these are all the sites that your PMax campaign is sort of showing up on and spending money on. As you can see, Datarama, 80 impressions. I do want to show you some random ones. Sidemen Among Us, random YouTube videos. This is just 50 out of 4,000 that are showing. Cool, you want to scroll down. Aussie Childcare Network. You sort of get the idea that it's just a lot of irrelevant stuff. So what I would do then is I'm typically in this maybe twice a month. I'm coming in and checking out placements. I will then sort of download this list. Then what I would do is I would have a look at this sort of URL section. Now, the content suitability section only allows you to exclude 2,000 placements at a time, right? Firstly, I would actually sort this by impressions. This is just this. Sort your sheet by impressions. That's A. Okay, cool. So then I would pull down this all the way to 2,000. You can just upload 2,000 at a time. For this example, I would just upload 50 just so you can get an idea, but you can still get an idea. You can see all these wasted spend in our PMax campaign, even in a sort of optimized PMax campaign like the one that I'm showing you. Then you copy that list over, you copy all those relevant placements. You want to head back into your content suitability section, scroll down into excluded placements, then you want to go into enter and then paste all those in there, add 46. Cool, and then save. That's pretty much how you exclude those. You just want to ensure that your budget is getting spent as efficiently as possible, right? This is just sort of freeing up your budget, like all the budget that you would have wasted on all of these sort of impressions and clicks. You are now sort of spending your budget on placements that you know work. And just keep in mind that this is A lot of these are relevant, but maybe you will find some that you think might have some relevance to your business. As an example, if you were showing up on maybe an Amazon, Gumtree, maybe sites where people do have some buying intent, you could sort of leave those on and just sort of see how it goes. Yeah, cool. And so basically what I would do, I would repeat this. So I would do 2,000 at a time. Yeah, I would do 2,000 at a time and just sort of exclude those irrelevant placements, and yeah, just repeat that process maybe twice a month. Now you know how to correctly set up your PMax campaigns in 2025. You also know how to add those content exclusions, just so your PMax campaign is spending your budget as efficiently as possible and not wasted spend in irrelevant placements. If you found this video helpful, sort of like, comment, subscribe. If you do have any questions, just put it in the comment section and I'll be sure to get back to you.